Hi, everybody. This is Tony Diaz, a Librotraficante, author of The Tip of the Pyramid, Cultivating Community Cultural Capital. And today we're going to help get a family some capital and cultural capital and maybe a serious improvement to their living situation. It's a little off of our beaten path in some ways, but in some ways, we're all about community. We're about empowering our gente. And this is another example of us stepping outside of the box. I don't want to keep being so mysterious. I'll set up the show in a little bit, but I want to be welcoming to our guest. She's a Houstonian who has gone off and done good, but keeping the love coming back to Houston, Texas. Today, we're talking to the folks from Extreme Makeover Home Edition, and they're going to be coming to Houston to possibly help a Houston family. And our connection there, all of our connections, is Crystal Castaneda, who is the casting associate producer. First of all, Crystal, how are you? Welcome back to Houston, and thank you so much for thinking of Houston for this particular session of the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I love supporting Houston in any way I can. It's my hometown. I grew up here. This is my city.
I love it. And of course, the irony here is that this is a TV station on a national level, but what I love is that we need to help by piercing even more deeply into the community. So, of course, if you're tuning in, you are used to Nuestra Palabra's multi-platform broadcast. That means we start off on a live stream. So it's on Nuestra Palabra's Facebook page. But then, of course, we're going to edit the audio so that it will air on 90.1 FM KPFT, Houston's community station, where I always pause and ask folks, hey, you know what? If you like the programming, if you want to make sure that we still have our say and that we have control over the FM airwaves, please do take time to make a donation to KPFT in the name of Nuestra Palabra, Latino writers having their say. And you can do that by either visiting kpft.org or old school dialing 713-526-5738 and pitching in the name of Nuestra Palabra so that we can make sure that this great experiment in freedom of speech continues. But of course, the audio version will also wind up on our podcast, which are available on all the podcast platforms. Today is really an interesting show because, like I said, it's a little different than what we're used to doing, but it's not, because the goal then is for we writers, we artists, to get a narrative of family in need, a family that's given back. And maybe, you know, it's, if we're Mexican Americans, Chicanas, we're always too proud to ask for help, but we always are happy to give the shirt off our back to others. If you know a family like that, this is your chance to apply for them to get some assistance. So, Crystal, first of all, tell us how that will work. Will the outcome be then that family may get recognition on your show? And tell us what might happen.
So what's amazing about this show is that it's not just your regular home renovation TV show. They really, really put a focus on the family and their story and all the work they do for the community. So even if it's just as little as taking in family when they're in a dire situation, those multi-generational households, those are the kind of stories we like to feature. Just having that small bit of give back makes it feel more deserving in a way. We're really, really dependent on nominators for this show. So think of those people in your community that really have an impact, that have given back, whether it's through church, through the school system, through little leagues. Think of the people that you saw really step forward in those situations in Houston, like during Harvey. I was here during Harvey, and I saw people going to their neighbors, giving them food, spreading out free tamales for the entire neighborhood. I know some businesses were giving out free pizzas and stuff. So think of those situations. Think of how many people have been giving back to the community in a selfless way to really put them forward for an opportunity like this.
We love it. And we know a lot of folks like that. So in a little bit, we're going to ask you exactly how our writers, our members can help those families get recognition, but also some support. And for folks that may not be familiar with the show, tell us what that would look like. So let's suppose, and again, I want to make it clear that you're going to several different cities, you're getting a lot of different stories. So our master storytelling skills are vital right now to make sure that hey, you brought the football to Houston, we gotta take it into the end zone so we can team up. But what might that look like if someone that we nominate from Houston winds up getting chosen for the Extreme Makeover Home Edition?
So, if you've ever seen the show, it's a big neighborhood event. We get the entire community involved. We get hundreds of volunteers involved to help this one family with their new home. So, the nomination aspect of it is really crucial because a lot of people that are deserving of this opportunity that give forward to the community are oftentimes not willing to put themselves in for something like this. They are so used to putting the community first, others first, that they have put themselves in the back burner. So really consider those kind of people who really step up and go ahead and nominate them for this, because you can't count on them applying for themselves. The nomination application is really only about 30 questions, and we ask what they have done for you, what they have done for the community, and whatever you can tell us about their current living situations. A lot of times people are very private about their struggles like that, so you might not know much, but if they're giving, they have a story, we want to hear it.
And I think you've put your finger on the pulse of what happens in our community. So I can think of several families right now who are volunteers for Nuestra Palabra. If we have a literary event, they will print flyers out, they will take flyers out, they will do barbecues for fundraising for us. But then we also know that they're struggling, but they would never think to ask for help for themselves. And they also don't want to be acknowledged for what they're doing. But we know then that they could benefit from this. And I would imagine then that the idea would be that your show would provide a certain amount of funds to say, okay, it seems like this family needs an extension because they have a multi-generational situation, right? Which happens a lot in Latino families where you're taking care of an elder, same time as kids. So maybe some of the kids don't have their own rooms. Let me ask you this. What are some of the specifics about how that might work? Of course, I know you need the actual nomination, the actual family. What are some of the parameters for that?
So it's really dependent on the family's current living situation. So once they fill out the nomination form, if we like the nomination, we might reach out to the family directly to fill out an actual application. Of course, families that are listening and are interested in applying on their own can fill out the application directly for themselves. That application is about 100 questions, and it's pretty extensive. We ask for a lot of information just because we want to know what your current living situation is. What our production can do for a family is really dependent on the family's home needs. If it's just a remodel or renovation, then we are open to that. If, for example, they have been displaced due to a natural disaster like a fire, a hurricane, I know there was a tornado a couple months ago, then a new build might be more suited to the family. Like I said, it's very dependent. If it's like a complete teardown job, then a new build as well would be an option for that.
Got it. So let me summarize for folks. Hey, welcome to Nuestra Palabra, Latino Writers Having Their Say. Crystal is not about to bust out a poem, okay? She's not going to read from her novel, but she is an example of someone from Houston. We're going to find out more about that, who pursued her education, is following her dream, is kicking butt on a national scale. And what I love is she has not forgotten her community or her hometown, because she's back to share the love. And our goal then is for us to spread to our network this message that if you know a family that is in need, gives back, and could use some support for their living situation, this is a chance for we as writers to write that nomination. Of course, if you're watching and you feel your family fits this criteria, by all means, do it yourself too. But I also know that sometimes people, especially Mexican Americans, Latinos, les da pena decir, bueno, yo no quiero pedir ayuda, yo quiero ayudar a otros. Or they may look at the application, say, no, I have to, it's going to be a lot of work. So we understand that, and we're here to help in that case as well. So let's go through the steps, Crystal. So let's suppose right now, and I can think of like 3 families off the top of my head. Some of them are still suffering because of Harvey. They've gotten some support, but they're still working on their household. So right there's several folks that would, I can qualify under that. So Crystal, if I've got the name of a family at the tip of my tongue and I think they're deserving, what would be the next step?
So they would go to our website, emhe.tv, or they can go directly to our application form at extrememakeover.castingcrane.com, and they can submit a nomination form for a family. That nomination form is linked at the top of the application. It says nominate a family. You would click that, and it'll take you to a separate 30-question form where you can submit the family's information, like their contact info, so that we can reach out to them, their story, what community give back they've done, their current housing situation if you know it, and even submit a short video on behalf of the family, like a brief testimonial of why you think this family is deserving of this opportunity.
The other reason I think that Nuestra Palabra crew is very fit for this is this sounds like applying for a grant. Okay, so Nuestra Palabra not only is applying for grants now. We had actually stopped for a while, but now we believe in the system again. We've been working with the BIPOC Arts Network and Fund, Houston Endowment, and Alma. So we've dived back into that. We're very good. This sounds like helping some of our collectives who we're fiscal sponsors for apply for the BIPOC Arts Network and Fund first round of grants. And it's kind of the same thing where some of these groups are doing all this work, don't get paid, don't want recognition, and might not have the technical skills or the computer skills to fill out some of these applications. And so they don't go for that recognition or help, but it's there and we want people to have it. So we're going to give the website again in a little bit. I do want to point out that there's no guarantees that anyone from Houston will be picked because you're also in some other cities. But I can say one thing. I guarantee you that if you're listening to this broadcast and you don't submit and no one submits, we're not going to get any of our families recognized. And I guarantee you there's so many families that are deserving of this. But we'll go back in a little bit and remind folks of those details. But Crystal, so you are from Houston. Tell us how you got all fancy national TV and why you're bringing the love back to the age.
So I grew up here in Houston, and I have always been a tech camera nerd. I've always focused on like photography, videography, and fell in love with documentary filmmaking. So when I graduated high school, I took an accelerated program with Full Sail University in Orlando, Florida. And I really focused on documentary film, got a bachelor's of science in filmmaking, and I got started in Houston actually with shows like La Voz Kids, and then some documentary series like My 600-Pound Life,
Wow.
Little Couple.
But you know what I love about that too, because I think a lot of times when parents hear that their youth want to take film or major in English, they're like, oh no. But you pursued your passion and it's been paying off, and it looks like you're leading a wonderful, happy life. So the message is pursue your passion, maybe, yeah?
Exactly. Pursue your passion and give back to your hometown. Bring your passion to the community you grew up with.
Fantastic. And I didn't mean to cut your resume short. I want to hear every single show you did, because some of the folks, tuning in, they too think, well, how do I get there? Obviously, you have a passion for this, but it takes a lot of hard work. but for you, it's enjoyable. So tell us a little more of the steps you took to get to where you're at right now.
So I think the biggest thing that got me to where I am now was actually film school. It allowed me to build a network of people that were already in this industry or going into the industry. And a lot of the times, the jobs you get are from word of mouth. You have worked with a camera person before and they liked working with you, so they'll recommend you for the next job. I got into casting after moving to Los Angeles. I was lined up for a completely different job in production because that's where I used to work. And the TV show I was going to work on got put in the back burner. They canceled it the day I moved.
No way.
Yes. So I had a job lined up and then it went away like that.
But you still had rent coming in. I guess you got to buy groceries.
Yes, my first rent in LA. The apartment was super expensive. I was so used to Houston prices. So what I did was I started calling. I started, putting my name out there, and I got into a couple production jobs here and there. I did like Nailed It Mexico and Love and Hip Hop in production. And then I finally got a call from Endemol Shine North America, which is also a production company working on this Extreme Makeover Home Edition, to work casting for MasterChef. And I've been on casting ever since.
What an awesome story. And it shows how the struggle is real, but you keep pushing. And I tell you what, folks, if you're tuning in, Crystal might get fired if you don't submit a narrative. So everybody, you better tune in. I do want to give a shout out to Maritza Duran, who on social media is saying, this is so exciting. By the way, Maritza is also very active in the community. So I'm hoping Maritza has some folks to nominate. She's very active with LULAC as well as Nuestra Palabra. So she's one of the folks that will carry the message forward. So Maritza, let's get some families nominated. Shout out to Amanda Rodriguez, another really talented Latina who's connected, trying to help people get hired. So I know she's got a great network. She will probably know some folks as well who deserve to be nominated, or maybe nominate them themselves. Saludos y abrazos to Amanda. And then Jose, hey, he te está tirando flores. He's giving you a shout out. We're proud of you for succeeding and not forgetting H-Town. And now we got to come through. And of course, Maritza's throwing you a yes. So that's a good sign right there. So I think that's so great too, that at the end of the day, there's so many different ways I feel to be an artist. And to me, it's shaping messages, but always staying in touch with the community, which is so exciting. Okay, so let's get back to work then. So then our job then is to think of these families, and then we're going to send people to the website. There's a shorter version, and if y'all write it correctly and fire people up, then it leads on to the more formal application. But then those are reviewed, I imagine, by your administrative team, and then they're probably looking. What other cities are you looking at right now?
So we're looking at, I have my notes right here. We're looking at Phoenix, Atlanta, here in Houston, Orlando, Nashville, and Dallas. So also in Texas, Dallas, Texas.
Wow. So you're trying to get Dallas and Houston to compete. I see what you're.
Well, not compete.
Oh, we're going to compete. It's a competition. All right, gente. Okay, mi gente.
I mean, go Astros, but yes.
Right. No, and of course, I just a little bit, but obviously, if there's a deserving family in Dallas, especially out there in the Fort Worth area, shout out to those folks, a lot of Latinos out there in Fort Worth that are doing a lot of great work in need. However, here in the H, we have a lot of folks that have come together for all those hurricanes that we mentioned, the floods that we mentioned, and just to keep it on a positive onda, positive vibe. Whenever we have an event and we need community members to give of their heart, to give support, to volunteer, they come through. And there's so many stories of people like that, that there's plenty of folks here in Houston. And we do appreciate you coming out here. So we want to make sure that we get people to support you so that, your team will say, wow, we thought Crystal, sure, Dallas had that TV show. We understood Dallas. Why Houston now? But then when they see the stories that come through, they will say, wow, okay, that worked. Now, let me ask you this. Do you have any idea of when that decision will be made?
So unfortunately, I can't speak on any dates like that. However, I can say that our deadline for applications have actually already been extended for Houston. So as soon as you hear this, you get off, go ahead and submit those nominations. Try to get them in as soon as possible, especially before the Thanksgiving holiday break.
Okay. So the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking, and there's other cities applying as well. So if you hear the message and you think of a family that needs this recognition, the time to act is now. And it's a lot like applying for a grant. And again, maybe the family is able to apply on their own, or they have a member that can do it. So part of this is just letting them know that this is a possibility. And Amanda would like to know the website. Let's give out the website again and where they can go.
Yeah, the official website is emhe.tv. That will have some information about our show. It'll link to our application, as well as a volunteer page that isn't up yet, but will be available closer to when a family's selected. And if you're interested in volunteering, you can sign up there as well.
Fantastic, because you want to get all community members involved. So especially if you're writing this, you might wind up pounding some nails. La raza are carpenters too, so a lo mejor se ponen las pilas y ahí también están ayudando. I'm not good at that stuff, but I'll carry some wood, so I will help with that. And by the way, when you're saying the initials, it sounds like it's the initials for Extreme Makeover Home Edition. So E for Extreme, M for Makeover, H for Home, E for Edition, and then .tv, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, fantastic. And we are sharing the website there on screen. Of course, when we repost this, we'll do that as well. We'll also include it in the podcast. Well, I've got my fingers crossed. There's a lot of great stories that can be told. I think our team is capable of conveying that as well. Anything else we've overlooked that you wanted to mention, possibly?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk and say that there's no prototype for these families that we're looking for. So they can be those single mothers that are working 12-hour shifts, those and nurses. We love to feature, first responders, teachers, community heroes, people that step up for others even when they're facing their own challenges. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. Just remember to consider everyone, not just, your family, but like what teachers stand out to you. Mm-hmm. Teachers of the years, some of your kids' coaches. Mm-hmm. Do any of those people step above and beyond?
Fantastic. I love it. And I think we all know a lot of families and folks like that. So I'm excited. And more than anything, I'm excited. Why? Because one of our own has gone off to the national networks, but come back. And here's a chance for our own network, our own team of people to give a boost to a family that is in need. And what a wonderful story that would be if their work is recognized and that their situation increases. So that would be a really wonderful ending, happy story. It'd be a fairy tale. So, hey, Crystal, I'm ready to write a fairy tale. So
absolutely, me too. I love making dreams come true, and that's why I love casting so much.
That's what's up. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to one of our very own, Crystal Castaneda. She is the casting associate producer for Extreme Makeover Home Edition. We've been giving a call out to folks to nominate some families. And If you know someone family or they want to nominate themselves, they can go to emhe.tv to fill out the application. You can do that for them. Hey, Crystal, continued success. We got our fingers crossed. And I got a feeling we're going to be talking again. So
Absolutely.
we'll see. Great. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. And speaking of teams, I want to thank our team. I want to thank Rodrigo Bravo, who is our sound engineer and goes out of his way to make us sound pitch perfect. Also, Roxana Guzman, who's our multi-platform producer, the entire Nuestra Palabra team out there. And hey, I'm Tony Diaz, Librotraficante. It's a different topic of show, but I'm always going to say it. Hey, hopefully looking forward to seeing you out there behind the book. Thank you for tuning in. Talk to you soon. Bye.